There was like I don't think there was really anything that was like off limits as far as alcohol. Like as long as it did the job, I was
Yeah.
cool with it.
Did you notice that you were starting to like get into it as far as like beyond just the party scene and like socializing? Did it start to turn into like drinking alone and just enjoying it alone?
Mm. Later on it did, but it started off with just like, in my mind, I was like the coolest or the most down to drink the most. That's how it was initially. I definitely started drinking with a lot of people in the beginning, or hanging out with friends, hanging out with the homies, trying to get girls and shit like that. So like that was like the initial stages of getting drunk. But as it progressed, that anxiety and all that shit was starting to come up, but I was like drinking. So it was like much more like presented itself way more intensely. And I started to kind of isolate a little bit. And a lot of it was just due to the insecurities and shit.
This is Rock Bottom with Ryan. No sugarcoating, no filters. The pain, the chaos, the truth. No bullshit. Just recovery.
Hey everyone, just want to welcome you to another episode of Rock Bottom with Ryan. Just so you know that this episode once again is brought to you by Sober Strong Apparel. Sober Strong Apparel isn't just lifestyle wear, it's battle gear. Heavyweight tees, hoodies, gear for the ones who draw a hard line. Clean, sober, no compromise. We rep sobriety like a badge of honor, and every piece you throw on says you're a part of the crew that doesn't back down. So please check out SoberStrongApparel.com. Use code ROCKBOTTOM, all one word, for 15% off. And 10% of every purchase goes to treatment facilities. I love what this brand stands for. I love the quality of the clothing. It looks good. I mean, it's amazing. Check out the website, guys. Don't hesitate. Check it out. This brand is awesome. It supports recovery. If you have any loved ones or family or significant others, friends, anybody in recovery, sober curious, or been in recovery for long-term sobriety, please check this out. This clothing is for you. Have a good day. All right, welcome to another episode of Rock Bottom with Ryan and Rachel. We're here today with the multifaceted monster, Michael. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Good. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Pretty good. Glad to
Hi.
finally have you here. We've been looking forward to this interview, actually, to get to know a little bit more about your story so that our listeners and people who follow you on Instagram and all that get to know a little more about you. So first and foremost, as you know, this is a recovery-related podcast today. So what's your sober date, if you have one, and what was your drink or drug of choice, all that, where you're from, all that stuff?
Awesome. My sobriety date is 10/18/23, which is the 17th is my birthday, so it's one day after my birthday. Had to kind of go out with a bang.
Mm.
Born and raised in California. My drug of choice was alcohol, but once I got drunk, I would do other stuff too. Like it was cocaine, weed, shrooms, whatever I could pretty much get my hands on. It was once I was already loaded.
All right. Yeah. Kind of similar to Rachel and
Yeah.
I. It's like mostly alcohol, but we were happy to do any other drug too.
Yeah. Just to get out of self. That's all it was about.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah. That's the only time I would ever be like, want to get a bag, like at the bar.
yeah. No. After a while, I was always prepared. I always made sure I had a bag to go for the weekend, you know. And then I'd be making 4 a.m. phone calls for more. Yeah.
Goes fast.
Yep, it does. It does. So we're getting into the early years. So what was life like growing up in California? What was your family dynamic? What was all that like before you started using and all?
Word. So I grew up with my mother and sister. We lived with an extended family for a while. Father was in the picture till about, I want to say like 9, 10, somewhere around there. And it just, he vanished, Houdini type shit. And it was me, my mom, my sister, and I grew up with, she's like less than a year younger than I am. So I'm the oldest of two. And my mom was like, worked in the medical field, so she was like super busy a lot when we were growing up. So I had like plenty of time to get in trouble and
Yeah.
kicked out of schools, various schools. Like elementary was cool, middle school was cool, but when I got to high school, that's when I started getting kicked out for like fighting, for stealing, for fucking just not showing up to class on time, ditching all that, just being a class clown. And went to a couple of continuation schools, and it kind of set in there where I just like my whole life, I kind of felt that not fitting in, just like being that awkward, socially awkward, because I always had this in hindsight, I had this like insecurity of like not being enough with the abandonment issues and shit like that. So I always had to like try to prove myself to whatever social group and try to mold myself to whatever social group that I was being introduced to or that I was around. So I became sort
Uh-huh.
of a chameleon.
Yeah.
And
That gets
So
tough
you were
after a while,
13.
like changing schools and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, you
like
you were
roughly
about
around there.
13 at this stage where you're feeling like you need to fit in somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was
Okay.
just no sense of self, was just like confusion because there's like I didn't have what was like what I expected to be like the traditional household. Like there's mom, there's dad, there's grandma, uncles, aunties, and but there was some dysfunction. There was some like mental illness and shit. Like I had bipolar in my family. I've seen some schizophrenia and like I grew up like traditionally without the I don't know. I think mental health and like therapy and shit had the stigma in it. At least where I was raised up and like how they thought about it, they were like, therapy is for white people. That was like the fucking thought process, and that was kind of like what was given passed down to me. So I never thought about like it was just like, oh, just go to Jesus with your like problems about whatever it was, which cool. But it's like that shit works for some things, but obviously I'm sure we all know like that shit doesn't fly. If you're like depressed or something, you can only pray so much, but I grew up with, under that like super kind of very religious, where it was just like pray about it, kind of keep stuff to the inside, and keep it inside the family. Don't embarrass the family by expressing whatever bullshit is going on within the family.
Yeah. No, I get that. We had another guest on, I think, Rachel, when you and I were in Florida, and we interviewed another guest who was black who said the exact same thing about prayer, just like prayer's a solution to everything. And he said that was exhausting, not being able to
Pray it away.
actually do
Just pray
things
it
for
away.
self-help and yeah.
Right.
Yes. And that
And
sounds
I
like
think it's a cultural thing too, because like you said, the
Yeah.
last guest that did, like it's definitely a cultural thing where it's like, oh yeah, just like I don't know. That's why I become sort of an oddball. I'll get into that later as far as like my family dynamic now, with
Mm-hmm.
just being an advocate for like mental health and shit.
exactly.
Love that. Yeah, I absolutely love
So
that.
so you had like a lot of, I'm sure that caused a lot of frustration growing up, like not knowing like how to get help, maybe seek counseling in school and stuff when you probably thought you might have needed it and all that. Was that just kind
Yeah,
of, yeah,
it definitely made it like, because I felt like the embarrassment or guilt or shame of like, oh, I can't tell these people at the school because there's shit. At that time, I think it was called like CPS, Child Protective Services, and things like that. So there was like that fear of not wanting to like go into the system or be like taken away from the family. But
Right.
then there's also the part where it's like, I'm not, like, I can't. I knew there was something weird. So I'm like, I can't just pray this shit away. Like, this shit doesn't work. And I kind of became a bookworm. Like, that was sort of my escape.
Mm-hmm.
Just reading different stuff and like diving into philosophy and psychology, like some Friedrich Nietzsche, some Carl Jung. I started getting into that world of shit of reading
Yeah,
that
Carl
was
Jung.
sort of an escape. Yeah. Yeah. He got into some deep stuff and it was totally against what I was being taught with the
yeah,
religious side of it.
Right.
yeah.
Did you feel guilty in a sense for like basically studying psychology and being intrigued on your own and doing that kind of on the down low?
Yeah, I kind of like, I was pretty convinced that I was going to hell for like a long time throughout my childhood. Like I was convinced
Mm,
that that kind of, I guess, controlled how I was navigating life because there was this like pending doom of like, oh, I'm fucked either way. Like, because I'm not this perfect being that I can't function this way, how the pastor or how my aunt says or whoever is telling me how I have to conduct myself. I'm not doing that. So I'm fucked.
mm.
Yeah. I'm sure that caused like a lot of resentment too towards like family members and stuff like that, just feeling like that's the only solution and what you're
Mhm.
doing is totally wrong, but you still wanted to, chase what you were passionate about and stuff like that. But it's like you're getting told it's wrong and you're going to hell all the time. And I'm sure that created some resentment.
Yeah.
It definitely made it. It's just where it's like you can't question anything, you can't really say anything because an adult said it or a pastor said it or like an elder in the church, and you're just brought up just not questioning the shit like that or not questioning like these authority figures. But like if you have a curious mind, you're kind of like, well, what the fuck? But you're also in this position where you're vulnerable, but you can't really question anything because like you're dependent on like family, mother, and shit like that. So
Yeah.
it puts you in this state of mind where you're like suppressing like a lot.
Yeah, I get that.
And if you don't mind me asking, I'm just gonna assume, but maybe I'm wrong, you were facing some sort of mental illness or feelings of your own and you couldn't express that. Am I correct in some form?
Yeah, and I didn't know what the diagnosis was at the time, but I
Hmm.
definitely felt like this. Later on, I was diagnosed with like depression, anxiety, and I've had a couple of 5150s, so I definitely like that came on later, like the suicidal ideation pretty early. But I mean, I didn't want to express that at the time, at least when I was before I got introduced to like drugs and alcohol and shit. But be having suppressing all like the feeling like I'm not okay, but I just have to pray harder
Right.
like it was some fucking magic. And it definitely it runs in my family, and there's definitely been I had my own diagnosis of at least depression and anxiety was what I've been officially diagnosed with.
Okay.
Yeah, I was as well, and I didn't know what it was. Growing up, I just thought I was different, or I just thought I was scared of the world or something. And I'd had this like crippling social anxiety for a long time. And I just like everybody just told me, oh, get over it, snap out of it. I wasn't in a religious household, but I was in my dad was kind of a hard ass, attitude. So it was just like, get over shit, and just
Right.
figure it out, and that was tough enough. And it just made things worse. But like, the older I got, the more I finally got a little educated on it and stuff. But yeah, depression and anxiety are horrible to grow up with, so I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Word.
Hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
So did you think sorry, you first, Rachel.
No, you
But
first. You go ahead.
No, no, my question was carrying on. We're still on the subject, so you can continue.
I was gonna dive right into it. When did you have your first drink and what was that like? Or how did that get introduced to you? Was this soon after you started feeling these feelings and studying psychology on the down low, or you just like, I want to numb? Like, did somebody introduce it to you around then?
yeah, nobody in the family. I'll take that back. My uncle, he would drink pretty heavily. Obviously, I guess I was taught we can't diagnose people, but the way that he drank was definitely problematic.
Okay.
Hanging around, probably like I don't want to say maybe 16, 17. I think 15 was my first actual drink.
Yeah.
And yeah. So it was soon after like just the abandonment issue started to kind of hit. And I started hanging around kind of like people that were like living the street lifestyle, and just like you start kind of getting into the high school crowds and like hanging out with the older kids and like wanting to fit in and be cool. So like I remember once that first drink hit, like we were partying, and I had to be the one to outdrink everybody because that was like something that I could compete and like guarantee that I was like, I'm gonna win, like it's something. So it was like I'm gonna drink the most out of everybody. That that became how I drank like pretty much from that point on. Like once I started drinking,
Hmm.
and
And it was
it was
like
fun.
everything from beer to hard liquor to just anything.
Yeah, pretty much there was like very. I don't think there was really anything that was like off limits as far as alcohol. Like as long as it did the job, I was
Yeah.
cool with it.
Did you notice that you were starting to like get into it as far as like beyond just the party scene and like socializing? Did it start to turn into like drinking alone and just enjoying it alone?
Mm. Later on, it did, but it started off with just like in my mind, I was like the coolest or the most down to drink the most. That's how it was initially. I definitely started drinking with a lot of people in the beginning, or hanging out with friends, hanging out with the homies, trying to get girls and shit like that. So like that was like the initial stages of getting drunk. But as it progressed, I became that anxiety and all that shit was starting to come up. But I was like drinking, so it was like much more like presented itself way more intensely, and I started to kind of isolate a little bit. And it was a lot of it was just due to the insecurities and shit. And I'm gonna rewind for 1 second. I remember this inferiority complex I had, and it was crazy because it came up like years later when I went to rehab, and they had us like write down all this shit, like steps and all that. But I had a childhood friend, and me and this fool, I lived in these apartments in Covina. He lived like over, it's Covina, California. And he lived on the other side of the wall. And we would always play together. We were like childhood friends and shit, play video games, had hamsters and shit. And there was a time I was hanging out with this fool, and then he was in his hamster cage, and the hamster bit him. And he turns around to me and he says, and I think I was probably like 11, 12, some super young and impressionable. He turns around to me and he says, like, see, my hamster bit me because you're black. What? Mind you, I
I'm
was
sorry.
like,
I'm
no, I was
so
fucking,
sorry.
I can laugh.
My
This
reaction.
is cool.
That
Right,
is
like,
so fucked.
because it's
I'm sorry.
right, right.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I was like, oh, fuck, it did.
I'm not even
Why am
laughing
I
because
doing
it's
this?
funny. Like that is so unhinged.
But like as a right. So that was like I think like my first real like dealing with like racism and shit where I was like, oh, but as a kid you don't like at least I didn't comprehend what was
Right.
happening or what like cuz he learned that from someone like fucking
Yeah.
probably his parents or some shit. But like I was playing with this fool all the time so I didn't really so I think it made me have this sense of inferiority. I swear I can't say that word sometimes of like
No, I
throughout
know what you
life, and I
mean.
didn't really know. I didn't really know until like I started doing some therapy and like journaling and like step work and shit. But yeah, I just had to backtrack to that because I was like, that's a pretty fucking gnarly statement.
Traumatic.
Yeah, no, that kind of thing, like, just makes you
No, that's
causes more like you
terrible.
said, inferiority, insecurity. Like, why do people? Yeah, that would frustrate the heck out of me.
Yeah, it was wild.
You brought it up for a reason. This obviously speaks to you, although like we're like laughing and going, holy shit, this was unhinged. Like in
Yeah,
all reality, it hit you. This was the first time you experienced racism and you didn't know how to comprehend it. How long were you hanging out with this friend after, and how much longer did you guys stop till you realized like, wait a second, oh my God, this guy said this to me. Did you like think about it often? Did he say more
later
things?
on, that was the only thing I remember him saying. Like, and because we were pretty young, that was the only thing I remember that like stood out to me.
But you don't forget those things, especially with anxiety and depression. There's always like
That's me.
I still remember 4 or 5 things that were said to me in childhood that still to this day stuck with me, and it sticks with you
Right,
for a reason, because it affected you.
a
I
100%.
I'm Jewish, so but by looking at me you can't tell, but I am Jewish. And I've had pennies thrown at me. I've had people come up to me and grab my Star of David and bend it. Like I've had bullies do things to me for being Jewish. So I can't say this is the same thing, but I understand if you know what I mean. It's something
Right.
that I will always remember for sure.
Yeah.
It sticks
It's
with you.
def yeah. Like, and it makes me at least like look at the world to navigate it a little differently because I mean, he was a child, he had that mindset, he grew up to be an adult. So there's other people like that, even in recovery shit. But you get to, as an adult, you have more power to like choose, and people are like not as quick, I guess, to say some shit like, or it's usually passive aggressive shit, but it makes you navigate the world differently just because it's like, fuck, like, I was friends with that fool for quite some time, like, and I don't think that that made me stop hanging out with him because, like I said, I didn't have like the sense of like self worth or self esteem of like, oh, this is disrespect, this is hate. Like, it was more just like, oh, this is my friend. He
Yeah,
said
he's just
something to me. I
yeah.
didn't have like you know what I mean, like the thought process to like,
Yeah.
this is somebody I should not be around. Like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and sometimes, like, people make ignorant statements, and you don't know if it's coming from a bad place or not, I don't
Right.
it's
You
just,
learned it
especially as a
somewhere. I mean,
kid. Yeah.
yeah, you learned it somewhere.
Yeah.
And it is unhinged because it's a fucking hamster biting him. Where the fuck did that come from?
I almost got a fucking t-shirt made of some shit like that. I was like thinking about it. I was like, I should get a t-shirt. A
Actually,
hamster
you
bit me
should.
because we're black.
I mean, you know what? I mean,
Fucking
look, you know
trademark.
what? You gotta laugh at
Yeah.
ah, yo,
It
you
is.
snooze you.
After we drop this episode, I might fucking do it.
That might be
We should
that
name the
might be the
episode that
title of the episode. I don't know. That will get a lot of clicks.
Do
the same time. Yo.
Jeez.
All right. Anyway, back
I'm
to
gonna
trauma.
cry. I don't cry often, but I might cry laughing on this one.
it. Yes,
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's talk about
I'm glad
trauma.
we could turn it into a humorous moment though.
for sure,
Yeah,
bro.
no, of course. But back to okay, so
So
you were out drinking everybody at this point and you were 16, 17 years old. Was it affecting your home life? Was your family starting to notice because you grew up in a Christian household? So what was that like?
It was a Christian household, but it was also dysfunctional.
Okay.
So a lot of it, like, I wouldn't drink like a lot of times at the house. So I'd be like out hanging out in the streets with all the homies and shit, and like being out late. Once I got into the teenage years and got into high school, it was like defiant, and I'm drinking. I have drugs and alcohol in my system. I'm smoking weed. I'm chilling. So like, I didn't really have like. It was just that typical like defiance. Like I'm just gonna be out and I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Right.
It went over it where it transferred into like school and shit. It finally, I don't know, it was just kind of accepted. Like I received some discipline and like some words on it, but it was kind of like my mom just did what she could to the best of her ability. And until we started living with extended family, then I was like introduced to like living in a city where there was like gangs and different shit. So then that part of life started to like I started to include myself in that lifestyle. Like I never joined a gang, but I was definitely hanging around fools and doing shit and getting into trouble and like, oh well, this is acceptance. Like these fools accept me and they drink and they smoke weed and nobody's like judging me for it.
Right.
and then was it causing you to like when you would drink in excess, did you start getting into any like trouble, legal trouble, or like how were your relationships? Like were you dating and stuff? Like how did it start to affect things around you?
Man, I could not like keep a relationship. Well, my very first girlfriend was from that same city where I got in trouble with. She she was a gang member, my very first girlfriend. Like me being like more nerdy and her being a gang member, but I'm like hanging around gang members, like trying to like be cool for her. The power pussy, I'll say, excuse my language.
Damn.
Fucking
I mean, it's true.
It's a thing.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not denying it. So
yeah, that's sure how you wild look, man. Go to war for that, all right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Power is real. It's ruined my life.
We run the world.
Dude, I can't deny it. You freaking
Beyonce said it
yeah, I
first.
was
So I'm so glad somebody said it on the show before I did.
What, Beyonce?
So I don't look as bad now.
but yeah, definitely being with her, and no shade to her. She's a great person, grown to be a great adult. I was just trying to impress her and like living this lifestyle that was not me because like I said, I was like chameleon, so I'm just hanging around these people. The relationships started to become like where I never felt good enough to be with any of these girls that I was with. So I would always like drink or do drugs to numb those feelings because I had to like bring about this fake confidence or this like yeah, this fake confidence of like I need to feel like good enough. So I need to be like blitzed out of my mind so that you don't get to know the real me.
Yeah.
Mm,
It was just always this facade that I would put on, like, cause I was like, I'm not like a gangster, I'm not a fucking killer, I'm not none of this shit, but I'm like running and posing as such. And it's just like, I did that for a while, at least with that relationship. Pretty much up until the relationship that I'm in now, which is like, honestly, probably the first healthy and longest relationship I've been in. And we're just over 2 years, or just under 2 years, I'm sorry. But every
So you've been sober
relationship
the
I've
whole
had,
time?
yeah, it's significant, like, for me, and every relationship I've had up until that point has ended due to my alcohol use in one way or another, like, in some shape or form where it was like
Yeah. Just toxic.
Yeah, driving drunk to the girl's house. There was one ex that I had, and this was like maybe 20s and shit. I drove to her house like drunk one time, and she's like, "Don't fucking do that again. Like, I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to hurt anybody." And I'm just like, "Okay, cool." And then did it again. I did it 4 times within a month, back to back, until she finally was like, "I can't do this anymore." And then, of course, I went into the victim mode of "woe is me," and like, "How could you leave
Yeah.
me?" and just all this bullshit. Like, but she literally is like, "Dude, I gave you like multiple chances." But most alcoholics were not like logical about shit. We're just highly emotional and emotionally unintelligent, which I was.
Yeah, for sure.
So they all ended pretty much with drug and alcohol use, like just all toxic, all like communication sucked. It was very much like silent treatments when we got mad at each other. Cause some of them were, there was like one that was in addiction herself. And I don't know if she ever got help or not, but we definitely, that was my relationship right before I got sober this time around. And we would have died together for sure if it didn't end the way that.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
And
what
is
was
the
your
relationship
you go
you
this
first,
time.
Rachel?
Nope.
Was the relationship you're now, is she sober as well?
Yes, she just hit 6 years.
It's awesome. You guys met
I
in
love that.
recovery?
Yeah, we met like mutual meeting, like friends and shit like that, going to like meetings and shit.
Awesome.
And just kind of, she's heavy into fitness and I am too. So we just kind of met first, talking about yoga or some shit. Like one of us friended one. I saw her speak at a meeting. And I think I don't know if I sent her a request or she sent me, but we just started talking on Facebook and shit. And
Awesome.
I think I invited her to like a yoga class because I was like going to this fucking yoga thing at this botanical garden. And I was like, "Oh, that's a good way to see the shape of her body. She'll be wearing leggings." So I was like, "Let's go to yoga."
Yeah. Those leggings, those things got power too.
Damn.
That's my weakness, I swear.
Dude, yeah.
And I feel violated.
I got to stop admitting these things on the show.
I
Right?
feel
Some of them are gonna be
violated right
used
now.
Leggings, man, they
with
are.
all due respect, of course.
They're just pants.
It's
Really.
it's game over. It's game over. It's not even fair.
Right.
It's just fabric.
But backtracking a little, what was leading up into like you were started to like evolve into drinking alone? Like, can you describe 24 hours and like at your worst up until you got to the point where you're like, I want to quit?
You stole my
Mm.
question.
Okay, so we're on the
Oh,
same page.
nice. Up until that point, it was definitely isolated drinking where I discovered that they deliver alcohol with DoorDash. So that was
Yeah.
like, I didn't have,
DoorDash
uh,
almost killed me too.
oh,
Let's
dude, for
stop this.
sure.
Let's make a petition.
Yeah, yeah. DoorDash
Yeah,
is evil.
Fuck
yeah. But
DoorDash in that aspect.
yeah, but it definitely made me, I just started drinking alone. Pretty much nobody that I was hanging out with, I was going to work and I would drink. And then it got to the point where I was like calling off work so that I could drink. I blew through all my vacation time because I was just like constantly getting up and I was sick, body hurting, going back and forth to the hospital. You went
Withdrawal
50 after
symptoms.
50. Yeah. Oh, withdrawals were bad. Like where I could not, like, I would have to go get like a few of those 99 bananas shooters from the liquor store just to try to like stop the shaking. And like,
That was my last
it was
shot.
bad.
That was my last shot.
Yeah, I was just watching your Jimmy episode and I was like, oh yeah,
Like
banana
when I
liquor or
see
whatever it
it,
was.
when I see that, I gag. Like legit.
Yeah. Same. It's just,
Because it's so cheap
like,
and I got so many of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I like in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're so small, they're not that much. But then I'll wake up to like 30 of them empty around my bed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those little mini. I used to
Sorry to
have those
laugh.
with
Me too.
fireballs, the little fireball ones.
Oh no, I get
Well, a
you. It's funny
fireball
as
would
hell
be a
because it's
good
like,
day.
oh, dude, I hate Fireball so much. That shit makes me
I'd drink it.
like, yeah, no, I did too. Like too much of it, where I was just like, when it starts to come out of your pores and you like smell like it, and you're like, nah, yeah, that shit was horrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So a
Up to that point of
24-hour
drinking,
period was like
yeah,
you would wake up and start taking 99 bananas.
yeah,
Mhm.
it was bad to the point where I like ordered DoorDash. and then I would go drive to the liquor store as I'm waiting for DoorDash. Just and I already have liquor in the house. Like just totally like blitzed out of my mind
Just
type shit
always
where I
have
was
it
just like,
ready.
yeah. And I think like the worst point it got was like the relationship that I was in. Her and I were living together in this apartment, and I had got at this point she's already like, fuck, like you need to get help. She's
Yeah.
dealing with her own struggles, but I feel like I was worse. I was like in and out of 5150 holds, and I got out for like maybe the third 5150 hold after like out of like a month. And I hit her
You know
up.
what was going through your head when you were 5150? Like what you were saying to get 5150?
Yeah, I made like threats for like taking my life for sure. There was one where the cops came to the house because that same girl that was my ex at this point. I remember I was drunk and I remember sending her an image. Like this is post breakup because at this point, like it got so bad to where she was like, she left, she went back with her mom, and I was still at that same apartment alone. And I remember sending her an image, a picture with a knife to my throat, like texting her a picture like, oh, fine, if you want to leave, I'm going to kill myself.
Oh,
Like shit like that. And
damn.
mind
Wow.
you, so she called, yeah, she was, so that was like in hindsight, horrific to do to somebody.
No, but for
And she
you
sent,
too.
yeah, it was because part of me was like the breakup, it was inevitable, but it was like two sick people sinking. And there was this one brief moment of like clarity that I had where I called her mother because her mom kind of didn't know the situation. We kind of were both good at hiding it. And I called her mom, like, hey, this is what's going on. Cause she was struggling with her shit. So we were back and forth, like, she would be using, then I would be using. It was just like, who's sicker today? And I called her mom like a brief moment of clarity and let her know what was happening. Cause I just, part of me like was like, I care for her and I want to get her to safety. And the other part was like, she's in the way of how I really want to drink. So it was like both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her
It's a tough
mom,
double-edged sword too, because either way it's kind of negative, because you want to keep drinking and then you want the green light to drink without affecting her, right?
right, yeah. And I knew like she would be good with her mom, but I was just like, the biggest part was probably wanting to drink the way that I wanted to drink, and then I got on another 5150 hold, and then when I got back, she had moved all of her stuff out of the apartment, and I don't know why I was surprised, but I was still like, at that point, I was like heartbroken because I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
she's actually like gone. Like before, it was kind of this back and forth game of like, oh, she's not going anywhere, she's not leaving, like we're just kind of dealing with each other's shit. But at that point, I saw it was like real, and I was like, fucking, I was devastated because I was in love with the girl and cared about her deeply, but I was also a wreck. And yeah, she finally left. And then that forced me to like sit with myself. And I didn't like that very much, but I did have friends who were in AA that I made plenty of drunk calls to who did, what do you call it, like safety checks? Because I
Yeah.
was texting all type of drunk shit like suicidal threats and all to just various people. I'll always wake up the next day and look at my phone and like, fuck.
Wellness calls and stuff like that. I had a
Yeah,
friend call the police to have him sent to my house because I was sending suicidal ideation texts, and I was just saying like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done with this shit, And,
mhm.
and even if I didn't mean it or wasn't going to act on it, it still scares people when you do that.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
because to us, go ahead, Rachel.
No, yeah,
I thought Rachel
for
was going to
sure.
say something.
No, I've been there. I've had an ex do this to me. So in active addiction. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. But he's still out there. He's still an addict. But I could only, just imagine what he's going through still. He's still trapped. He's still in hell right now. So I don't think that would have been the real him if he wasn't using. So I all I could do is pray for him and continue, but I've seen some horrific shit with people just, threatening suicide and if I leave or something like that. And it was a vicious cycle. It was a vicious cycle. So, but we're all
Yep.
here sober and doing the damn
Yep.
Yeah.
thing.
Seriously. I know I've done that before in relationships probably where I was threatening myself in order to like get the person to feel empathy for me or whatever, because that was like
Mhm.
the only way I could think of to be like, oh, okay, Ryan's really struggling right now. But I was be like, I'm just gonna kill myself, you know.
Right,
And
yeah,
you know, but obviously I was broken enough to say something like that and felt so weak that I had to say something like that. So there's a reason behind it. But yeah, it
yeah,
is crazy
Yeah.
the lengths we'll go to sometimes to get attention or get them to feel for us, you know.
yeah. Get
Yes. And
to you
was
learn how
this
to
your
weaponize.
I'm sorry. I was gonna
But no, I
ask,
just
was this your surrender moment?
yeah, this is definitely what led up to it after she left. I continued to drink for like maybe a couple more days, and meanwhile still calling people that really cared about me enough to like come through and check on me. But when she left, finally it was like gratitude, but also like heartbreak. And like this was like one of the first times I don't know, maybe like I don't know if it was the first time I was truly in love to where like it really like impacted me at a point where I was like, oh fuck. I was like, damn, I have nothing. I'm about to lose my job because I've already called off work. And mind you, I've like ran through all my vacation time, all my sick time, used my father died like twice at this point, to get time
I
off
feel
work
that.
to drink.
I feel that.
On everything. On everything. I like, and I went to great, like the lengths we'll go to. Like I even went as far as like, in my paranoid mind, I'm like, I call them and let them know or text them like my father just passed. I just found out, blah, blah, blah. So then I go on the internet to start looking for death certificates to like get as
Yo,
closely as possible. And I found one that was like legit. And I still to this day I was like, oh shit, is this full? Like, but like I
I
like
thought I was
found
the
shit that
only
matched you.
one. I'm relating to you deeply on a very crazy level right now. And
Dude,
crazy. I did the same
the
thing.
lengths we go. No
Your mom?
shit.
Literally, I'll call my best friend right now. Like call a friend. I'll call her right now.
It's called a friend. Dude,
But
the
wow,
lengths
so
we go.
okay, okay, I get it though. It's to because you wanted to keep your job, you were trying to have like your excuse, but at the same time drink. This is what addiction does though.
Yeah,
The lengths we go
you get
to.
so
Yeah.
bad.
I know. How much do you think you were drinking towards that last final period before you quit?
I had started using or drinking the big handles of Sky vodka. So I was like going through one of those probably like in like 2 days, plus like the 99 banana shots, just randomly too. So I was like probably definitely like I'm surprised I never got like cirrhosis of the liver or anything like that. Because I definitely drank enough to do it. But
Did you ever seize up during withdrawals or anything?
I've had a one seizure that I remember because I remember I went to the hospital and they gave you what is it they give you to not have a seizure?
Like Librium and stuff and IV,
The IV, I forget it's not Ativan? Not Ativan. Is it Ativan?
Ativan? Yeah,
Yeah.
Ativan's one of them.
They gave me I went to the hospital having withdrawals, got a shot for that, and then they released me. So I went back home and this time I was living with my family. But I went home and I remember just fucking all of a sudden just passing out, like first shaking and then passing out, and then I just woke up and kept drinking. But that was the only time I can remember like having an actual seizure
Yeah,
in my
it's
life.
frightening.
Yeah, so
I'm
but
sorry you
luckily
went
I was
through
at
that.
home, but I was yeah, thank you. It was I mean self-induced for sure, but I mean I thought I was
Yeah,
good because I left the hospital already, like, or I got the Ativan because that was it became a routine at that point. Like I was like, oh well, I'm not gonna have withdrawals. I'll just go to the ER. They'll fix me up, and then I could go drink again. But
yeah.
it was
So what was it like having your last drink then? What did you tell yourself? Or like, did you go to treatment after? Or like, what happened on your last drink?
Mhm.
yeah. I ended up going to treatment. My last drink, I remember I was drunk on my way to rehab because I called a friend and I've known her for years. I met her when I first went to rehab because at this point, this is my third time heading to rehab, but the first two times were just kind of like going through the motions just because like the first time I was failing classes in school and I was like, I've seen this in the movies. You can go to rehab and they can't fucking fail you. So that was like there was no intention of getting sober, getting clean. It was just like saving face. Second
Mm.
time, a little more, but it was also like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And mind you, also to backtrack a little bit, the second time I went to rehab, the girl that I'm talking about that we lived together, I met her in detox, and she went home, and I went to residential. Just for a little backstory on that. So it was like the Cinderella story with the hospital socks and shit. And
Those good
I
old
have a
hospital
few.
socks. Yeah. I've got
I
some
still
pairs of
rock
those.
them.
They don't match my Jordans, so I don't wear them
yeah,
anymore.
I'll wear them still to around the house.
right. Right. But yeah, that time going was I called a friend, and then she was out of town and she was unavailable. So she reached out to another friend who was in recovery. He came by the apartment. And at this point I was like I'm ready to go to rehab. Like I had just that window of like heartbroken, done drinking, my body's hurting, everything's aching, but I'm still drunk. And I called my friend, like, I need to go to rehab, otherwise I'm gonna die. Like I called her and said, look, I'm going, like, this shit is gonna end. And she's like, okay, like if you're ready to go, like I'll send somebody to get you. And she did. And this fool came through, the homie Mike. He came through and he picked me up. I had a bag packed at this point. He walked through the house, start pouring out all the liquor and shit, finding anything he could, because he's in recovery too, so he knows the routine. Going through the house, pouring shit out, and then he he took me to it's called Charter Oak Aurora Hospital in Covina, California. And we're on
Mm.
our way there. I was like, can I stop and get some cigarettes? And he's like, for sure. So I stop, and then in my mind, I'm still like, I'm gonna buy one more beer as we're on our way. So I go in the store, fucking try to buy a couple beers, and I ask the lady, and she like won't sell it to me. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, but she gave me the cigarettes, so I'm like, whatever. We leave, and then we end up getting to the rehab center. And later on, I found out the reason that she did not sell alcohol to me is because this fool already knew, like, I guess he was behind me and he was telling the lady like this, like, no, no, no. And,
Uh,
and I had no clue.
well, was it meant to be?
Right. Yeah.
Dang.
So then
But
you go
yeah,
into rehab.
finally
How
made it.
long were you in rehab for?
I think I did probably 90 days. I think I did in the residential because I did the detox, then I did the residential, and I kept doing extensions because I was like, the first two times that I went to rehab, I bullshitted. So I was like, I actually wanted this shit this time. So I like hit the ground running. I started actually like getting with a sponsor, working steps and shit like that. That's how I was able to maintain sobriety, is like the 12-step AA shit.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Um, it began helping. And like, you know how they say you have a window of desperation? Like when you first get clean or you're like trying to, like I knew by the past times, I was like, if I don't hit the ground running, I'm gonna start feeling better. And then I'm gonna be like, fuck this shit and be right back out.
Exactly. If you
So
don't put the work in.
yeah. So I got
Yep.
busy. I got busy like right away and did like a fourth and fifth step in rehab. And I started
Okay.
over once I got back out sponsored. But it was
Awesome. What were some of the
Yeah.
most difficult things to address when you were first getting sober that you just have been avoiding and numbing for so long?
Mhm.
probably the fear of like, I think fear of like actual intimacy. Like, cause I realized I had a lot of
It's a good answer.
superficial relationships. Like it was very like I was in fear of being hurt. So I would like have these false, like very surface level relationships where I didn't get so connected that I couldn't just like fucking ghost people if I felt the slightest irritation, fucking being hurt. Like I was just very quick to like abandon ship for like friendships, relationships, anything. So I was like, this has to stem from some shit.
I can relate.
And I
Yeah.
realized it was abandonment issues for sure. Cause I was like, I gotta leave before they leave. And I didn't really know it, but you start to unpack some shit with, cause in the treatment center, I had a therapist that I was working with. And I started to get honest with him and shit. And I was like, fuck, like I have a fear of like being harmed or abandoned, harmed emotionally. So that was like the biggest thing I feel like was would cut people off. Like I swear I was fucking like I would ghost people so much I got the nickname Black Casper. Cause I would fucking
I just thought I'd put two and two. I was like, oh, that's
It's
good.
another
yeah.
t-shirt.
Wait, who gave you that name? Was it a white person?
No, it was just no. It was another black person.
Another episode title idea.
Right,
Just
it's
saying.
Black Casper.
I like
Or
the
that'd be a
hamster
title
one,
of
I'm
like your
sorry.
next album.
Do you
Could do
ever
a whole
rap
song
about
on
the
that one.
hamster?
I have not up until this point, but I'm definitely going to now. I'm definitely going
All
to now.
right. And Black Casper.
Can I be
Yeah.
featured in the music video?
Huh?
Be like, I ain't ghosting shit.
Yeah.
Not
He's like,
anymore.
I'll let you know.
No, it's for sure, link up.
So when did you get into rap and like using that as a way to express yourself? Was that something you've always done and then the lyrics changed as you got sober, or how'd that go?
Definitely. I was into like around, what was it, 13, 14, 15. I was like rapping back then. Or I started off with poetry and I was hanging around older
Mm,
people that were rapping. But my foundation is poetry. I was like, what was that fucking website? Allpoetry.com I used to be on. Like,
me too.
oh, nice. That's like an old
Who's your
school,
favorite
that's an OG
rapper?
website.
Yeah,
My
it is.
favorite rapper, Tech Nine.
Love Tech
Okay.
Nine. Seen him live.
Okay, I
He's
really
awesome.
love that
Yeah,
answer. Okay.
for sure. Yeah, because he's like,
And
he's fucks around with heavy shit too, where it's like you could
Yes.
do different genres and like blend them together. I love that shit.
so your
Mhm.
hit song is Misery and Push, are like two of the bigger songs.
I like
What
Push.
are
I
those about?
listened to it.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Push is like that redemption story of like, I remember my sponsor told me that this was like the kind of the, I guess, agreement. You can't work on anything musically until you get to your ninth step. Because I had bullshitted so much the first time, like he kind of, and we became like brothers at this point, like friends and shit. So like I respected him enough to like be like, okay, fuck it. But I started going through the steps like as quickly as I could out of spite, because I'm like, fuck, I have to do this music shit. In the process, I did make changes, even though I tried to rush through it out of spite. And I remember when I finished that step, I had already wrote at that point. But I remember when we got through the steps the first time, he said, I'm going to take you to an AA men's convention. It was some more shit in like Corona or something. And I remember on the way to the convention, I had this urge like to just, these lyrics that were sitting with me, hit up my engineer, Rich. I'm like, hey, bro, I gotta put this fucking recording out. And it was just a verse. I stopped by and I was like in my suit and shit. So I was like feeling all fucking proper. And I had been sober for a little bit at that point. And I remember it just was on my mind to like go knock it down. And it was basically about like getting sober and like listening to people that were smarter, and I wouldn't be at this point now. Like life didn't seem like even possible had I not pushed through like the obstacles and shit to get sober, because all it took was just having an open enough mind and open enough ears to be like, all right, these people are living their life. They're doing better than I am, and they care about me. So like just fucking listen. And
Yeah.
it was basically about that short little journey of like, fuck, like life has gotten better now.
It's awesome. So as you kind of progressed in your recovery, do you feel like a lot of your song styles and lyrics kind of change with it? You're like your direction.
Definitely. And like, I feel like it's still continuing to evolve because my foundation is AA, right? And I know it's like the in that anonymity shit, but I'm like, I think that only applies like you don't break other people's anonymity. But like my movement has been like recovery out loud, just based on the people that I fuck with. And they're also like, you recover out loud so other people don't die in silence. But I've been able to like talk to people through Instagram by being vulnerable, like people in different countries and shit that are just struggling with substances and shit. So that's been like my way of like, I guess, being of service, because I haven't been sponsoring and shit. The traditions of it, like it just, I've been able to like, a therapist that I learned from, she said, when it comes to AA, she was like, it is a beautiful foundation to get sober. But she was like, you're a critical thinker. And she was like, it doesn't necessarily encourage that. So she was like, take the foundation of recovery from it, but also don't lose the ability to think critically about shit. And I'm like, hmm.
Yes.
So like, so I don't just like follow along. It's like eat the chicken, spit out the bone. Like, cause there are some aspects of the program I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense for me. And I don't discourage anybody else. I'm just like, for myself, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And today now you're making music. You said you're a mental health advocate.
Yeah.
Tell us more about
Basically
that.
because of for sure, because of my spirals and like where it led me into my addiction, I think they go hand in hand. Like they, neglecting mental health to look for a different outlet. And like drinking is like socially acceptable. It's like a normalized thing. So we tend to do it, but if you don't know you're an alcoholic or an addict, or you don't cross that threshold, and you don't you neglect your mental health. I'm reading this book right now called "Sober is Dope" by Pop Buchanan, where he starts to kind of get into the neuroscience of it and shit. Like to understanding the brain takes time to heal. I don't know. Ever since I've seen all the tragedy and the mental health issues within family, made me like the pendulum swung the other way, where I'm like, I have to learn as much as I can about psychology because then I can understand myself better.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
that's
A lot
allowed
of
me to
people
Yeah.
don't take the time to get to know the science behind it, but there's a lot of good books out there, that being one of them, which I should check out. But like so much about what goes on in the brain, even like prior to when the drugs and alcohol take over, like
Yes.
why we
right.
ended up that way. So it's
And
really
I
interesting
love
stuff.
that this topic came up because Ryan goes the A. We were just talking about this before you even came on. Ryan, it goes the AA route, and I actually
Mhm.
go the route that you're speaking of, psychology and mental health route severely.
Yeah,
So very interesting that this is just coming up that you know about both, you're interested in both, you're speaking about both. So it's, yeah, I'm all for you have to understand the psychology and why you're doing things for sure.
Yeah.
right. Because I remember asking questions, and it kind of goes back to like growing up with the religious thing, where it's like with AA, you have this book, which is a beautiful foundation for recovery. But if you question anything, people are just like, kind of like, no, you don't question that. This is what the book says, sort of a mentality. And I'm like, fuck you. Like, you're not going to just tell, like, we are adults. Like, if I have a question and some shit doesn't make sense to me, and I think it's beautiful for when you're early in recovery, you kind of, they just tell you, just sit down, shut up, like,
Mhm.
and just listen, which helps because you're vulnerable, you're fucked up, we're all fresh off the street. We need to listen. We need to take some direction. I agree with that. But I think once you get sober and you stay sober for some time, like because we're in AA, you don't become like a fucking financial advisor or a doctor or a psychiatrist, but people will tend to give advice on shit because they feel like, oh, I have 10 years of sobriety, so I know X, Y, and Z. But in reality, it's like, dude, what, like, you're not a fucking therapist. You shouldn't encourage people. Because I actually made a post recently on Facebook where it kind of ruffled some feathers, which I'm kind of glad. But I said, what do you think about people in recovery giving advice on medical shit? An example would be you're not truly sober if you take prescription medication, which is something that I've heard. And I've had two people, one person I personally know that has died from killing himself because he stopped taking his medicine because he had
Yeah.
mental health, but he was advised, well, you can't take that shit because you're not truly sober. You're fucking impressionable when you first get in the program because they're like, sit down and shut up. So like, people, I kind of ruffle some feathers, but I'm like, this is a fucking reality. Like sometimes people's egos get so big because they're sober, and there's like it becomes a hierarchy in the program where they're like, oh, listen to me because I have 30 years of sobriety. Okay, but you're not a fucking psychiatrist. So you need to shut the
Exactly.
fuck up
Thank
before you
you.
tell somebody some shit that
I agree
makes them
with
take
that.
themselves out. So like
Yeah.
all love for the program, but it's like
Yeah.
sometimes people take it and do other shit with it.
Yeah.
No, but
They do
thank you
become
so
full of
much for
themselves
speaking
after
out
so
on
many
that.
years. Yeah.
No,
Absolutely.
seriously.
Absolutely.
Definitely
I
something.
mean that from the bottom of my heart because yeah, I mean I have ADHD severely. I took myself off of ADHD medication recently and I'm learning a new way of doing this sober. It's not easy. My focus and hyperactiveness is very insane right now, but I'm learning and when I'm
Right.
anxious I figure out other ways too, but if I felt the need to ever go back on it, I shouldn't be judged by that community either because I'm not using the substance that I used to use to harm myself. So that's,
Exactly.
yeah, thank you for that.
I'm on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, and none of them are benzos, but still, I could not, I don't even, how I feel today, I just know that they're working, especially without the alcohol mixing with them. So it's like,
Right.
I can't imagine right now just stopping everything and then, the side effects of stopping. And also, maybe it's what my brain needs, to get through the day, but there's no alcohol
Yeah.
and there's no drugs, no,
Right.
serious drugs or anything like that. So it's like just prescription drugs.
Like,
Yeah.
So
Like
I see nothing wrong
yeah.
with it. So yeah.
100%. I definitely appreciate the perspective on it. Like, literally, there's a chemical imbalance, and like, just because I got to step 12 does not make me a fucking chemist who I could tell you, like,
Exactly.
hey, you shouldn't. It's like, no, I need to shut the fuck up and stay in my lane. Like, this is how I got sober. That is
Yeah.
fucking it. Nothing else. No
Yeah.
Exactly.
life coach. No shit.
Exactly. I mean, we don't judge people that are just living by every word in that book and living by the steps. I mean, to each their own, it should be like that for everyone. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, I do love the program, and I'm grateful for it. But I definitely
Yeah. It's a
always
beautiful
you have to
program.
utilize that critical thinking.
Yeah, I love the program too. I go every weekday and I embrace it and all, but I don't agree with every person in there. I go and I take what I want from it, and that's
Yeah,
that. As long as I stay sober another 24 hours, I'm happy. So,
exactly, dude.
Yeah.
That's the
yeah.
goal.
Yep, exactly. So, what like advice for our listeners would you like to give as far as like your experience
Yeah.
with addiction and alcoholism and stuff? Like our listeners out there struggling still or sober curious, what would you say?
Man, there's definitely more than one route to sobriety and being able to save your own life, whether it's rehab, whether it's a 12-step program, whether it's NA, CA, whatever, any of the programs like that. Then there's other methods as well. Some people, if religion does it for you, if you're able to go to church and you all of a sudden you find God and you don't want to fucking drink anymore and destroy yourself, like whatever route it takes for you, like, just don't close yourself off because to any of the possibilities. If you're struggling, if you're a regular drinker, then you're probably not fucking listening to us anyway. If you're
Maybe.
struggling, right? Yeah, no, it's true. Sometimes you never know. So I don't want to discourage them either.
Hey,
But
if you're listening,
be
listen.
open. Yeah. Be open to any route because there's more than one way to get sober and stay clean. And like, there's people that I know that have never stepped into a 12-step program and they're living sober and clean. They just stopped. The gym became their obsession. They started
Hmm.
going to therapy. They started taking care of their shit. And they're like, hey,
Yeah.
oh yeah, the gym is like, that's one of my obsessions too. Like I've started practicing like combat
Same.
sports and weightlifting and just like, I love it now where I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to take care of my temple. Like the amount of energy I put into it
Yeah.
self-destructively, I want to do it constructively.
That's so good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And Rachel and I are both love to go to the gym too, and we use that as one of our. It's like a vice now, It's not just a way to kill time; it actually feels good, It's like
Yeah,
Yeah. I do it for my
replacing the
mental.
alcohol with them.
dude.
I do it
And
for my mental,
I
and
was,
then the looks are a plus. So,
dude, I was just reading too, right? There's in that book that I mentioned, The Sober is Dope, like with the healing of the brain, like it takes some time for your brain to start enjoying like regular levels of dopamine from like a workout or something like that. Before we get like cocaine, you're fucking blasted with your
Yeah,
euphoria. So it's like it takes time for your brain to like come down to that baseline where a workout feels like, fuck yeah, like I crushed that shit. Like I feel amazing for the rest of the day.
exactly.
So like,
Get that runner's high going and just feel all
yeah,
those endorphins. Yeah.
yeah. So
It's a good feeling. And it's true, like we do replace our addictions with healthier addictions, And sometimes the only time I catch myself slightly judging anyone in recovery is the people that just put down the bottle or the drugs or both and then don't do any work on themselves. Sometimes I judge that because I'm kind of like, well, I feel like with that attitude, you're going to go back to where you were because you're not working on who you are, That's the only time
yeah,
I catch myself judging a little. But still,
you
if
got
you're
to do the
sober, you're
work.
sober. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
like I
But
would
you got to
encourage
do the
people.
work to stay sober.
yeah.
I agree. I agree. Like you, because if you just take away the substance, like there's a reason that you ran to the substance in the first place. So it's like deal with that, however that looks like, whether it's going to a therapist, psychiatrist, the gym, all of the above. Like when you feel better physically, you start to do better. You start to care about yourself and you start peeling away those layers. So if there's anything I could recommend people, like therapy, fucking psychiatrist, whatever your needs are, like get with your doctor and then go to regular checkups too, like fucking physical health. When you start feeling physically fucked up and you're not, because when I was in recovery, I didn't go to the doctor regularly. I was like, fucking whatever, I'm a doc anyway. Take care of your shit. This is that one vessel you have to fucking move through. So like be as strong as fast as you can, fucking read, take care of your shit. Like, because and when you
Yeah.
feel better, you do better. It passes on.
Yeah.
It becomes a domino effect.
Exactly. Educate yourself in the meantime too. So reading is a huge thing. Rachel, I was watching that episode and you recommended a couple other books. I mean, I'm gonna have to check those out too. So, and I've never
Yeah.
heard of Sober is Dope. I'm gonna have to get that too. So,
For sure. Yeah,
awesome.
I'll send you the info on it so you know where it's at.
Sober is dope.
That'd be awesome. So, do you want to shout out your name and like your Instagram name and like how to find your music and all that for our listeners?
Absolutely. My name is Multifaceted Monster. You can find me at the handle at Multifaceted Monster, all one word. Everything else is at my website, which is multifacetedmonster.com, where you can find literally everything. Including on the website is one of the drop downs is recovery resources, where I've began to compile a list of treatment centers in different states, as well as therapist connections, and I'm also continuing to compile that list. So you'll be able to find different resources, and I'm just building more and more. I've reached out to some more people like that are connected with the Department of Mental Health in LA, so I'm trying to get more resources. So my website can become a one-stop shop for not just like the music and merch and shit, which of course, check that out. But like sometimes people don't know where to go, and I want my website to be a hub. Like that's my way of being of service. So that's
Awesome.
what we only shout out.
Amazing.
We love and respect what
Amazing.
you're doing. It's awesome. And yeah.
Yeah,
Making
so much.
music and being an recovery advocate and helping people. I mean, that's what we love. We love to hear that on our show.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all for having me. I'll definitely stay in touch.
Thank you so much for also shedding the aspect and light on how important AA is, but also the psychology and mental health aspect, because that's what I'm trying to get out there now too. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you all
Yeah,
so
we
much.
appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, we appreciate all your input on everything, man. Thank you so much. And it was fun talking to you, and let's all keep in touch for sure.
I appreciate y'all. Let's definitely stay in touch.
Rock Bottom with Ryan. No bullshit, just recovery.
Alternative rap, what is that? I need to start listening to that.
A genre I actually created because I grew up on like hip hop and rap, and I respect the hip hop traditions. But there's a lot of it, and it's kind of similar to my recovery. There's a lot of like expectations and like traditions that you're supposed to sound like this or do that or etc. And I just wanted to create music where I didn't really have those restrictions of like, oh, it should sound like this. It should be like, I'm not a gangster for one. I'm not like, I don't live a certain lifestyle. I've been exposed to it, but I'm like a bookworm, freaking anime head. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I want to rap about shit I want to rap about, not like it needs
Kind of
to
like
be that.
Common and like Talib Kweli and some Kanye and stuff, like rap about stuff that besides the typical stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Except
Yeah.
the typical shit. So it's like,
Yeah.